For the second part of solving equations, we're going to be focusing on one-step equations with multiplying and dividing. So again, reminders, when we solve these equations, we use opposite or inverse operations. So the opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of division is multiplication. So let's look at these examples here. First thing we are doing is we're drawing our line down the equal sign. Then I'm highlighting my variable to show the side that we're looking at that we need to eliminate, get our variable alone. When we have a number written right next to a variable, that means multiplication. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. Remember, kind of like we're trying to get away from using x for multiplication because that's kind of confusing, we're also going to get away from using the division sign. Instead, let's remember that a fraction bar also means division. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw my fraction bar on both sides. We always do the operation with whatever number is on the side with the variable. So n is being multiplied by 14. The opposite is to divide by that same number of 14 on both sides. On the side with the variable, our 14s should cancel because 14 divided by 14, if you want to test it out here, equals 1. So we're left with 1n, which is the same thing as just n. And so we're going to just write it as n. And then the other side, 168 divided by 14 equals 12. A reminder that we can double check our work, and we've got a calculator to do that. So we're going to take our answer that we got and we're going to plug it back in where the n value is. So 14, remember when it's written next to the variable, it means multiplication. So I'm going to use parentheses to show times 12 equals 168. Let's double check to make sure that's right. 14 times 12 equals 168. We got the same value. They are equal. That worked. All right, number 2. I'm going to draw my line down the equal sign. I'm going to highlight my variable. So my variable is on the right side of the equation. We have this fraction bar here, which tells us there's division in the problem. The variable is being divided. So the opposite is going to be to multiply both sides. Well, our variable is being divided by 7, so the opposite is to multiply by 7. Again, we're trying to get rid of using x because, look, we already have an x in here. That'd be really confusing. We could use a dot, but sometimes that might look like a decimal. So I'm just going to use parentheses to show that I'm multiplying this side by 7. If I multiply the right by 7, I need to multiply the left by 7. The reason that this cancels out, well, first off, they're inverse operations, right? So if you're dividing by 7, the opposite is to multiply by 7. But if we look at this as fractions, these diagonals would cancel each other out. So we'd be left with x over 1, which is just x. On the left side, I'm going to multiply 7 times 35, and I get 245. So you can leave it written like that, or you can flip it around and do x equals 245. Again, we've got a calculator. We should double check our work. So we're going to plug this 245 into where x was originally in our equation. So I'm going to rewrite 35 equals our x value of 245 divided by 7. Let's see if that's right. 245 divided by 7 equals 35. So we get the same value. It worked. All right, number 3. Step 1, we're drawing our line down the equal sign, highlighting our variable. We see the fraction bar, which means division is the operation in our equation. So the opposite, the inverse to solve is multiplication. We're dividing by 6, so when we multiply, we're going to multiply by 6. If I do it to the left, I have to do it to the right. It should cancel out on the side with the variable, and we should be left with the variable alone. M equals 12 times 6, which is 72. You'll notice we didn't put a spot to check your work here. We're not necessarily requiring that you do it every single time. We're just suggesting. So what you could do is you could just go back and plug in. Okay, 72 divided by 6, does that give me 12? Yes, it's a quick check that you can do. All right, number 4, drawing our line down the equal sign, highlighting our variable. When you have a number written next to the variable, that means multiplication. The opposite of multiplying is to divide. Remember, we want to get rid of using the division sign, so the opposite is dividing, but we're going to use that fraction bar. Y is being multiplied by 15. We always want to get rid of the number with the 15, so we're dividing, rid of the number with the variable, so we're dividing by 15. It should cancel out on the side with the variable. 15 divided by 15 is 1y, or just y. 390 divided by 15 is 26. Again, we didn't leave the spot to check, but you can quickly do it in your calculator. 15 times y, well, 15 times our y value of 26. Does that give me 390? Yes. All right, moving on to some with decimals. Don't get scared when you see them. You've got a calculator to do the work for you. So we're still just doing the same exact process. Drawing our line down the equal sign, highlighting the side with the variable. The number is written right next to the variable, which is showing multiplication. So the opposite is to divide. So if it's being multiplied by 2.5, we're going to show our division with the fraction bar, and we're going to divide each side by 2.5. It should cancel on the side with the variable. Easy to spot because it's highlighted. So those cancel out, and they're leaving you with just A. And then, I don't know about you, I can't do that in my head, so I'm for sure going to use my calculator. 17.75 divided by 2.5 equals 7.1. I'm going to double check. Let's plug in 2.5 times 7.1. That did give me 17.75. We are good. All right, number 6, I'm drawing my line down my equal sign. We have a number written right next to the variable. Oops, whoops, I forgot to highlight my variable, so it's easy to spot. The number is written right next to the variable. That's showing multiplication. So the opposite is to divide. We're showing our division with the fraction bar. X is being multiplied by 1.5, so the opposite is to divide by 1.5. We're always dividing by the number that's with the variable. It should cancel out on the side with the variable and leave you with just X. And then plug it into my calculator, 84 divided by 1.5 equals 56. We can leave it like this, or I can flip it around so my X is on the left. X equals 56. Again, I'm going to double check. 1.5 times our X value of 56 gives me 84. All right, number 7, drawing my line down my equal sign, highlighting the side with the variable. I see the fraction bar there, which tells me division is in the problem. So the opposite is to multiply. It's being divided by 5, so we are going to multiply by 5 on both sides. It should cancel out on the side with the variable. we're left with just n equals 22.7 times 5 equals 113.5. I'm going to double check to make sure that worked. So 113.5 is our n value divided by 5 equals 22.7. Number 8, drawing our line down the equal sign, highlighting our variable. We see the fraction bar, which means we have division, and the opposite is going to be to multiply. X is being divided by 5.7, so the opposite is to multiply by 5.7 on both sides. On the side with the variable, it should cancel out. We're left with just X on that side. On the other side, 5.7 times 3.4 equals 19.38. We can leave it written like this, or I can flip it around. Put my X on the left. X equals 19.38. And last, I'm going to double check. Plug in 19.38 where X is, divided by 5.7. And we get 3.4. And that's it.